So the next technique we're going to look at is your basic hook punch. Again, if I'm throwing it in isolation, same as with the cross or any technique off the rear, I'm going to need this double hip motion as opposed to just throwing. What I want to happen with this double hip, I want to drive my weight through and throw my hip through the line of the target before my hand catches up. Again, think of the analogy at the beginning of the tape, throwing the ball. This is more like a discus really, because it's coming round at an angle onto the side of my opponent's jaw, or even into the side of the neck here, vagus nerve, carotid artery. More effective for a street situation or in MMA, definitely easier to pull off. Does happen in boxing quite a lot, although the neck and the throat are not legitimate targets in boxing and kickboxing. So from here, I don't need a huge movement with this hand. A lot of people really wind these hooks up and it just serves to telegraph it. Also, it slows the technique down. I want to keep nice and tight. Really, my arm's just moving from here to here. I want my arm at a 90-degree angle at the elbow. Chin tucked in behind the shoulder, my wrist, my elbow, my shoulder are all going to be level. I don't want the elbow down, otherwise I'm going to end up slapping. I'm probably damaging my shoulder as I impact. Likewise, if the elbow is up, I'm probably going to skim in, and again, it's going to affect the wrist shape. Just take the glove off for a moment. The fist shapes I use, there can be two. I can either hit sort of tower fist this way, with my thumb up towards the ceiling, or I can hit with my palm down this way. Either's fine as long as the wrist is in alignment. There are pros and cons to both. If I'm hitting tower fist, i.e. with my thumb up towards the ceiling, I get a little more of a natural kind of a whip into this movement. My arm can stay a little more relaxed, okay? And I do tend to get a bit more velocity and sometimes a bit more power. So if I'm hitting in close range here, we'll quite often use this fist shape. However, if my opponent starts to move away, the further he moves away, the more I'm going to have to curl my wrist over. I can't hit him here like this. I'm going to break my wrist. Whereas if I do use the palm to the floor, although I'm bringing a little bit more musculature into play, so it's harder to stay relaxed and get that same kind of whip, okay? You're naturally a bit more tensed when you pick the arm up in this manner. What I can do is I can extend my hand much further and I can reach with it. And another little trick, if the guy's really moving out of range, what I'll do is turn the back of my hand over at the last moment and throw like a limp arm shot at the back of my knuckles. And you can get away with that even in boxing or kickboxing, even though it's not strictly speaking inside of the rules, perfectly legal inside of an MMA situation. Okay, the basic hook again. I want the pad, so I can just see the edge of the pad. I'm coming around at the target this way. Remember, the target point of the jaw or the throat, carotid artery, vagus nerve. I've got my double hip movement, I'm shifting my weight backwards and forwards, but I don't want to give too much away with my upper body. I will still weight shift, although it's a close range technique now, so I'm not travelling massively with my feet, but I'm still going to step out ever so slightly on a 45-degree angle. Not out passing to the side, forwards. I want my weight going through the target, through the pad this way. So it's a really ballistic movement with the hip, a slight shift of the weight, and my hip cuts the target, cuts the line of the target before my arm catches up. My arm is relaxed and loose for maximum velocity until the second that I impact, when I tense my core with my tss sound, with my breathing, and physically tense my muscles. What I'm doing, you can't see in the mitt, my hand will be quite loose with all these punches until the moment of impact inside of my glove, okay? And as I impact, I tense the fist. So I'm relaxed, tensed on the impact. So I'm going to demonstrate a couple of the hook with the tower fist at the closer range and a couple with the palm turned down towards the floor at slightly more of a range. So when I'm throwing the hook off the lead hand, which is one of my favourite techniques, the mechanics are slightly different. I can throw it again in its own right with a double hip motion here. I'm usually going to throw it after a right-handed technique, usually the cross. As my hips and my weight will already be shifted through correctly, so I can come back through this way. If I am going to throw the lead hook in isolation, again we've got the two different fist shapes. We've got the tower fist for in close, we've got the palm towards the floor, a bit more of a range is allowed. The front foot is going to pivot. I'm going to push onto the ball of the foot, turn to the ankle, the knee, the hip, and again throw my hip ballistically through the line of the target and allow my arm to continue and connect. Once I get to this point, for now, really for all intents and purposes, I've hit him already. All that's got to happen is the hand's got to make the connection this way. I don't want to be, especially if I'm talking in close range. The closer the range, the less distance I have to generate velocity, hence the less power I'm going to have. If I'm not really sharp with my technique, with my hip movement, with my weight shifting, and with tensing the core and relaxing and getting that tense and release on impact, then I'm just going to have a very pushy, ineffective shot in close. So when you're fighting inside of the clinch or toe to toe, it's really, really important to get this down. So from here, again, if I'm throwing it as an isolation shot, I'm going to shift my weight slightly without giving too much away on my upper body, pushing onto the ball of my front foot and turning my heel out. My knee turns, my hip turns, my shoulder follows, chin in behind the shoulder as I strike, either palm down or tower fist, more likely if I'm in closer this way. Usually if I'm going to throw the lead hook, it's going to be following a rear-handed technique, probably a cross. I'm already going to be in the right position here. I've already shifted forwards and through my target. My weight's on my front foot. I'm shifting my weight from the front foot to the back foot. But again, the angle is really important. I don't want to lean back and rock back on my heels because I want my energy and my momentum going forwards and through the pad. So if I've driven in really deep with this right hand, I'm going to shift and turn this way. Just pivoting on my feet. I'm essentially ending up in a 45-degree stance again, but now I'm sort of facing off pretty much at a 90-degree angle from my target as I land this. So I've thrown the cross, driven through, the right hand comes back to protect the jaw, pivot on my front foot, turning the heel out, and shift my weight through onto my right legs with the impact, tensing the core.